Right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Chakwadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone Ruel. Peace, blessings, salutations to the full elect that is out there pushing, laboring, believing, and listening on to this truth with wholehearted sincerity. I already made a blessed election be upon your houses. All right. The title and topic of this lesson is pretty much going to be all right. We killed that old man. All right, or that old version of ourselves, or that version of us that was in the world. All right, is dead. All right, and one of the things that inspired this lesson, all right, was this song that was by Rod Wave. All right, I believe the song's called 25. All right, and some of the lyrics here, towards the latter end of the song, was on point, and that's how we are, after we come into this truth and leave the world. All right. As you see here, the lyrics right there. It says, certain things ain't like me no more. Certain things don't incite me no more. You know, and that's pretty much how we are. Once we came into this truth, once we were renewed, once we put off that old man, once we put away those childish things, right? Certain things that you know the two-third version of ourselves was into and liked and enjoyed, we no longer have an, I guess you could say, an appetite for that. We no longer have a urge for that or a want for that. All right, things like smoking, getting lineups, eating abominable foods, just committing all types of wickedness, idolatry and so forth. There's just these things that was a part of our old self that's not us anymore once we come into this truth. All right. It's no longer, excites us. We no longer, have the want or the urge to do these things, man. All right, because we put it away. And now we look at these, worldly things or two-third things or things that we used to be into, with a negative mindset. Now we look at those, the older version of ourselves with disgust, with disdain. All right. And that is honestly a good mindset and a good way to be once you come into this truth. All right, because we're once we came into this walk, we were cleansed. All right, those former things were put away. All right, but I want to start with this precept. Oh, Salakia. Start with this precept right here. First Corinthians the 13th chapter verse 11, and it reads, "When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things." And that's exactly what it was like, once he came into this truth. All right, I always hear the brother, or the elder brother, Gabar, you know, in our camp, always says, he always says, you're not a man, until you serving Yahweh Shema Shai, truly, man. You know, you're not truly a man until you serving Yahweh Shema Shai, and that hits deep, man. All right. Prior to us coming into this walk, knowing this truth, we were in, a two-third mindset. We were in a childlike mindset, all right, into, all different types of things, man. All right. And once we came into this walk, we put away those things and we, no longer, want to do those things, man. We hate that old version of ourselves, man. We kill that old man continually, man. We hate that version of ourselves, man. Truly. All right. This is Ephesians 4th chapter, verse 22. And it reads that ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man which is corrupt according to deceitful lust, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. And that's exactly what happened when we came into this walk, when we came into this truth. When that light bulb turned on in our heads, when it started making sense. All right. And we got renewed. All right. You know, Continuing on, it says, and that ye put on the new man, which we do, right? Once we come into this walk, we're putting on that new man, right? We're renewed, putting away that old man, putting on that new man. Continuing on, this reads, which after the Most High is created in righteousness and true holiness, right? So we put away that wicked two-third, you know, self of ours, and we put on that new man. We put on that righteous man, that holy man that is doing things that is acceptable and pleasing in the sight of Yahweh Shemal Shah. right? We no longer want to be in the state of, doing wickedness, going off, and trying to displease and anger Yahweh Shemal Shah. We're trying to do everything that we can possibly do to be found in good favor in the sight of Yahweh Shemal Shah, so we can receive that ultimate reward, which is salvation and the kingdom. All right, continuing on. This is Romans, the 12th chapter, verse 2, and it reads, "And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Right? And that's ultimately what happened when we came into this truth, right? Again, going back to the lyrics of that song, right? Certain things don't excite us no more. Certain things, it's not like us anymore, right? Because we were transformed, right? We were renewed, right? We put away that old man. We put on that new man. We put away those childish things, all right? And now we're walking, we're trying to walk uprightly, in the sight of Yahweh Shemal Shah, to be found pleasing in his sight. All right. Continuing on, it says that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. And that is exactly what we are, doing, man. All right. We're constantly striving. We're constantly fighting. You know, every day is a battle, because at the end of the day, what Satan is trying to, sift you. And when you go into that word sift, it means what? To agitate to the point of overthrow. All right, so Satan is trying to sift us out this truth. Satan is trying to get us to go off, along with these other demons. All right, but we must, continually put away that old man, continually, walk uprightly, and strive to be found pleasing in the sight of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, this is a daily thing, man, because every day, right, Satan is gonna try to, get you to go back to that old man, get you to go back to those old ways. But we can't. We have to stand firm in what we believe. We have to continually push and fight and strive. All right. And we don't want to go back to that old man. We don't want to go back to that 2/3 version of ourselves, man. Because ultimately that version of ourselves will lead to your death, destruction, demise. All right. There's nothing beneficial that will come out from that old version of ourselves. There's nothing beneficial that will come out from, certain things or old things that, the 2/3 version of ourselves enjoyed. Whether it was, smoking, whether it was, excessively drinking, whether it was, tattoos, dreads, lineups, fucking church, whatever the case may be, man. You know, hitting licks, all types of wickedness, man. All right. So we don't want to go back to that, man. We hate that version of ourselves. All right. And it's not like us anymore. That's why when we come to this walk, even your friends, your family, they'll notice a shift, man. You hear your friends say, say you have a old friend you haven't seen in a long time, and they see you, you know, after a while, and you in the truth, and they'll even tell you, something different about you, man. I don't know, something's different. You got a little glow to you, got a little aura to you, you know. Even you lose friends, family, whatever the case may be, because certain things that's, again, going back to the lyrics, it's not like you anymore. Certain things doesn't excite you anymore. Hey, certain friends, hey, they'll stop messing with you, man. Hey, and that's a good thing, man. All right, because you don't want to be around that crowd that was into all types of wickedness and debauchery, man. All right, trying to separate ourselves from them, man. All right, because we are not like these people in the world, these 2/3, man. All right, nor do we do the things that they're into. This is Micah 2:10, and it reads, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction." Right? Ultimately, this place is not our rest. This place is not the end all be all. The things that this place, pushes and promotes is things that, the 2/3 and our worldly selves would enjoy. But now that we are into this truth, we are in this walk, we no longer have the appetite for that. We no longer have the taste or want to do these things. We hate these things. It doesn't excite us. We don't like it, you know. All right. We're more so focused on the kingdom. We're more so focused on prophecy. We're focused on serving Yahweh Shema Shah. We're focused on, trying to receive salvation, trying to be a part of that number to be, ultimately saved from this place before the utter destruction comes, man. All right. What excites us is the kingdom. What excites us is salvation. What excites us is, the return of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. You know, But hey, the point has been made. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect of Israel. With that being said, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are well. Peace, blessings, salutations to the elect that is out there pushing, laboring, believing, and listening on to this truth with heart sincerity. Until next time, Shalom and a ball, Kwame Asharala, Shalom.